Okay. This is basically an information video. I mean, I'm not really great with cars, but I know a little bit. Um, this is a 1994 Ford Probe. I mean, not the greatest looking, but I mean, it runs. Paid $450 for it. Has 257,000 miles on it. Runs great now, but I was having some issues and nobody could solve it. It was like an unsolvable puzzle. Well, I finally solved it. Long story short, what it was is mass airflow sensor. But I'm gonna give you a little story on everything I tried. First, I started with plugs and wires, all brand new. Then I went distributor cap, rotor button, tried adjusting the timing, still wouldn't do nothing. Went in new air filter, still nothing. Then, I don't know if you can see it down there, that little shiny cap, this line right here, yeah, right down there, that line right there is fuel line. Fuel filter, new fuel filter, still didn't do anything. And when I got the clutch replaced in it, I asked the guy that did it, he said computer, because it only did it when the computer kicked out of default, which is like right after when they first start, they throw a lot of fuel to it, so it'll fire and turn over, and afterwards it lowers the fuel. Like as you ever heard the saying, if you're only going to be there for a short bit, leave it running to save your gas. Well, I didn't figure it out at first, so I was thinking, well, if it's not getting enough fuel, I'll just kind of reduce the air. Well, what I did is I removed this right here. Then I removed this little hose right here. And I got my own little rig right here if I can get it out of there. And I don't know if I said it, but it's a 1994 Ford Probe. Has a 2.0 Mazda motor, 4-cylinder, and it has a G5M 5-speed manual transmission in it. And all right, now back to this. This is my little rig. It's the bottom of a 24-ounce beer can. What I did is because I didn't think it was getting enough fuel, so I figured restrict the air, balance out the air to fuel ratio. And I trimmed a little hole, kept trimming it until I got it to where it was close. It'd probably do like 45 tops on a hill, floored, in like fourth gear. Third gear, it'd go slower. Second gear, it'd go slower. Just didn't have no kick to it, I guess you'd call it. Well, I kept trying to figure it out, and then one day I was like, what about my sensors? So I ran through and I checked almost every sensor in this thing. And then I went ahead and checked my injectors while I was at it. They were all clicking just right. And then I got to this little sensor right here. It was clean. And then I couldn't get this one off because I don't know if you can see it or not, but it has a tamper-proof Torx screw in it, so I couldn't get that. Well, I went and bought the can of cleaner, CRC brand, and it was like it was like $9 at AutoZone, and I went ahead and got the bit set. It was like $10 for 6 of them, which is outrageous. Because me, I don't have a whole lot of money, but I usually use what I got. But I didn't have anything that would work for this. I had to go buy it. And pulled this thing out, and it was filthy. I mean, filthy. You'll have like, it kind of looks like steps in a way. Like you have a tall, like your long one, and then you have a short one in behind it. Like, let me come around here. It goes, like, you have a little air channel through here that it pulls the air through, and it comes down, long one, and then your short one in the back. There's 2 wires going across, and they're hot wires. So they usually have a little bit of buildup on them from getting hot and cold and hot and cold. And pulled it out, cleaned it, and it ran great. But my issues were, it had a rough idle. It acted like it wasn't getting enough fuel. Every time I pushed on the throttle, it just pretty much die. It'd fall flat on its face. But now this thing runs great. And then I went ahead and retimed it, being it was running good. And what you do is you come back here. See this little wire right here? It's got 2 wires going into it. You unplug this. Then you come out here by your battery. It should be here. Sometimes they're down along in here. Every car is just a little different. And it's called a ground bar. And I haven't seemed to be able to find one at a store because I want to get a backup. You pull that out. And I usually set one on the battery or something. And come over here. You got a 12 millimeter. You loosen that. If you go down, it ups the idle. It advances the timing. Now, if you bring it up, it retards the timing and lowers your idle. Now, there's another way without having to do any of that. And I don't know if you can see it. There's a little idle air adjust screw right here. Mine was frozen, so I mean it's corroded in place, so I can't really do anything with it. But for those that you can actually turn, that's another way to adjust it some. Sometimes it could be a little bit of slack on the throttle, but mine was the mass airflow sensor. And I was thinking maybe I had to buy a new one, but I figured I'd try to clean it first. And now it runs great. And for as many miles as on this thing, it acts like it's brand new right off of a car lot. Like brand spanking new, like 2015. I mean, I'll go start it so you can actually see. And I mean, you can see I got I guess my money's worth for $450 because this is what happened to it for whoever owned it before. And then went ahead and got my LED light in there. And then I gotta pull my seat up. Alright. Fires right up. And that's when it kicks into default. And you can see I got it right at 800 RPM. And it's lowering because my catalytic converter's gutted, which is not suggestible or good for the car because it has no back pressure. And I mean, you can see right there, I'm not lying, it has a lot of miles on it. And I'll go out here and I'll idle it up at the motor. And I'm sure you can hear it pretty good, but just tap the throttle. And I mean, if I really want to really tap into it, I can't do it too much because I have neighbors and it's like late at night. But for as many miles as on it, it runs pretty damn good. But if you're having those issues, right here is most likely your problem. Because I figured it out 90% of the time. Probably 99% of the time, it's this. Either that or a dirty air filter. But that's like the 1%. But 99% of the time, it's this. Because every time it builds up corrosion and dirt, whatever gets past your air filter, and builds up on it. So if you have these issues, I would just go ahead and go straight for this. If it's not the air filter, go straight for this. Or if your air filter is like extremely dirty, go to that straight after it and clean it, because most likely it's going to be dirty. And that's pretty much the end of my video, and good luck.